Mr. Bhaskar, thank you very much for joining us on Republic TV. We are seeing almost history unfolding. I mean, we are seeing the meeting between Prime Minister Modi, Xi Jinping. Tomorrow he will be meeting Vladimir Putin. So India, Russia, China coming together to counter the Trump tariffs. I want to understand from you, how do you view this? How do you view this that, the simple question is, how does this matter? Why are India, China and Russia important?
Okay, before I go into Russia, China and India, let me dwell a little bit on history. The provocation right now is the Ukraine war. And the Ukraine war, America says that India is financing Russia to fight the war against Ukraine. But Russia was never the aggressor. Russia in 1990, when it allowed Ukraine to be free, there was an agreement which said that Ukraine will remain a neutral territory, not bring Western forces, not join the NATO, and NATO will not expand eastwards. The last clause was made when Germany was allowed to unify. Mm-hmm. The US forgot all of this, and in 2008, the US said, we are expanding NATO eastwards. At that time, William Burns, then ambassador from USA to Russia, wrote an 8-page classified letter to the government saying, don't do this, you are provoking a war. And the statement was unequivocal. Mm-hmm. That 8-page document was a secret document. It was titled, Niet means Niet. As luck would have it, WikiLeaks got the document public, and today's it's been declassified as part of the archives. A Google search of Niet will get, Niet means Niet, will get you the document. He then became the director of the CIA, and that document explains how step by step the US provoked this war. Russia was passive, was quiet, but when they came to Ukraine, it decided to warn. Again, an agreement was drawn up in Istanbul, and Boris Johnson and the US said, no, we don't want this agreement, we are going to support Ukraine, and push. Mm-hmm. Now, the war with Ukraine began because of America and not because of Russia. That's something people forget. The second part, America was more worried about China, but because of the Ukraine war, got distracted and sanctioned Russia. The Europe decided not to purchase oil from Russia, and the Nord Stream oil pipelines were blown, and Germany kept quiet. As a result, Russia moved to China and said, would you like my oil? China, which is such a large economy, wants oil. Said, why not? And they built pipelines, and they said, okay, fine, at discounted prices, at long-term prices, they signed a pact. India also saw an opportunity of getting oil very cheap, plus Russia was always a friend. And so India said yes. And that is why India started importing Russian oil. It lost an opportunity where it could import Iran oil, but America had sanctioned Iran also, again unfairly. This time India did not stop. It went and bought Russian oil. China bought Russian oil. Russia, after the war, has become stronger than before the war.
Right.
Now, that's one part of the history.
True.
The second part of the history was that just like America pushed Russia towards China, they were not very good friends, they were not enemies either, but they were not very good friends. After this, they became very good friends. Then it decided to put a tariff on India. And India, for the last 30 years, has been towing the US line because they believe the US is powerful, it's good to be friends with a powerful player. When the US did this, India said, enough is enough. We have to go our own way. And it decided suddenly to announce the Prime Minister was visiting Tianjin for the SCO meet. Before the meeting, Wang Yi came to India to smoothen out all the corners and all the ruffled feathers so that there'd be no antagonism. In fact, in 2019, when Xi Jinping came to India and went to Mahabalipuram in Chennai, he had suggested that we should have a triangle of peace. That was forgotten. Now it is being revived because without peace, you spend too much of money on arms, too much of money fighting, you don't have money for development. So that's the second part. That's the first part. The second part is crucial. Why should India, Russia, China come together? There's a very interesting chart. If you look at the numbers very carefully, you'll understand. America does not like Russia because Russia is at least 2 to 2.5 times bigger than America in land mass. America does not like China because in land mass terms, it is equal to Russia, to America. Both these are natural geographic competitors to USA. It wants to break up Russia and it wants to contain China. Unfortunately, China has done marvelously and has become a leader in technology, far beyond what the US had anticipated. Now, why should India join Russia and China? Answer is very simple. Look at the numbers. Russia has a population density just 8 people per square kilometer. It has no people. But it is the largest landmass spread over 12 time zones.
Correct.
It has huge mineral deposits, the largest reserves of gold, the largest reserves of oil, the largest reserves of name everything, including rare earths. But it doesn't have the capital equipment to go in for large-scale mining because America has put sanctions against it. The only alternative is to go for labor-intensive mining. But Russia does not want to take Chinese immigrants there because the next door neighbor, when he comes here to the country, can become squatters. But is more comfortable with India. And that is where discussions are on with India to send large contingents of labor forces to exploit the mines on a production sharing basis, just like ONGC is doing it through OVL in Russia.
Okay.
So, the mining part, the people part, the grunt part is taken care of.
Okay.
China wants a market, India has the market. But India wants investments, China has the investments. And 3 years ago, the Chinese ministry had sent out a very tacit message to India. Listen, we know that the trade is in our favor, that you've got a huge trade imbalance and India is suffering because of that. But the imports are necessary for India to re-export. You can't export pharmaceuticals without our APIs. You can't export electronics without our components. They said, but we got a solution. And the solution is, whatever the deficit, we will bring in that much of money to US investments in your country. India should have grabbed it, but because of more of problems, we didn't say yes. That might get revived now. If that gets revived, believe you me, India is going to see a glorious time ahead because one, it'll get investments, but more important than investments is it's going to create jobs in India. And more important than that is Russia, India, China actually change the center of gravity of business from the West
Correct.
to the East. We become the drivers of economic progress and growth for the next 20, 30, 40 decades.
Right. One is obviously the geopolitical aspect where we're talking about multilateral or multipolar world. But I really want to understand from you, is the deficit that Donald Trump's tariffs might create in Indian exports, so to say, to the US, will the India-Russia-China trade anywhere balance it or even outpace it?
Okay, let me give you two numbers. The largest trade partners in the world till last year were USA and Canada. Over 640 billion. India, without government support, has crossed 140 billion, larger than America. If trade is allowed, we'll become 640 billion. We'll become the largest trading partners. Russia, India together will be much larger. Point 1. Point 2, water flows wherever there's a possibility to flow along. America's imposed bans. We have an FTA with UK. I can assure you that our Indian traders are already thinking of sending the textiles to UK duty-free, and the UK businessmen will export it back to USA because they have a pact with USA at 10%. So I think exports always find their own ways, and sanctions have never worked in the world. This is going to happen with India as well.
Okay.
Point 3. The market in the East is bigger than the market in the West. The West is a declining population. The East is an expanding population. Once Russia, China, India come together, you'll see the ASEAN blossoming. India is ready to talk to the RCEP. That market bloc is bigger than the G7 bloc. Already in terms of PPP, BRICS has crossed G7.
Right.
So with the result, Look at BRICS, look at ASEAN, look at RCEP. The West is no way.
True.
It'll take a year of trouble, a year of turmoil, because India's unemployment rate is high, but there is a way out.
Okay.
And that is why I look at this relationship of India, China, Russia. Very important, very, very significantly. And there's one more important part. When Prime Minister Modi says the border dispute must be settled first, there's a historical, the precedence.
Precedence, so to say.
Yes. When China got its independence, the first thing Mao did was ask Russia to settle the border on the northern front. There were too many players on the southern front, whether it's Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, or whatever happened. So he settled the border and then he started concentrating on growth. Our biggest border is with China. We need to settle that. And China needs to settle that because they're the largest on the southern side.
But then we've always seen China kind of using borders as probably, to arm twist India, so to say, to behave in the way it wants New Delhi to behave. Do you think today, in fact, the joint statement also mentions that there has been peace along the LAC. Do you think border dispute is something that India can't forget? Do you think we are at a point where we are settling the border dispute politically as well as, diplomatically?
Well, there are two angles to it. First, thanks to America, all the leakages about what China's doing was fed to Indian newsrooms and to the government by the American agencies. The multiplicity agencies. So we built up a negative narrative for the last 70 years. Point one. Point two, in this part of the world, if you look at history, in 2,500 years of trade between India and China, we've never had a war. It's only the last 70 years that have had some skirmishes, but not full-scale war. Point two. Point three, please look at the West. We had the 1,000-year war between France and the UK. Today, the West are friends. When there's political goodwill, even 1,000 years war can be forgotten. When you have 2,500 years of friendship, a 70-year period is a winter.
Okay.
It'll disappear.
Okay. My final question would be, do Trump's tariffs itself, do you think they sustain, or what happens if Trump withdraws the 25% tariffs? What if Trump mellows down and brings down the tariffs? Do you think the bonhomie, so to say, that we are seeing right now between India, China and Russia, that will sustain?
Well, look at it another way. In the last 30 years, how much of investment has come to India from Europe and from America? And even the UK. UK is part of Europe anyway, sorry. When it comes to technology, the only country that is fast in technology, whether in pharmaceuticals when India got its independence, or in steel, or today in defense, Russia teaches India how to make those things. It passes technology. America gives you black boxes, please put them together and says we have shared technology.
Yeah.
It does not pass on technology.
True.
So India knows that if it has to grow, it has to understand technology. And both Russia and China are willing to share technology. So if Trump even withdraws the tariffs, we've been stung. After 30 years of working to America's way, we've been stung very badly. I think India would still like to remain friends with America. Having America as an enemy is dangerous. As Kissinger said, having America as a friend, as an enemy is dangerous. But having America as a friend is fatal.
Okay.
And there's Henry Kissinger saying it. India cannot afford to be friends, but India cannot afford to be an enemy.
Right. Right.
USA can create trouble.
Right.
So it's never a good idea to be an enemy of the USA.
Okay.
But this has also taught India that India cannot be another Zelensky, another Ukraine to fight a war against China. Don't push India to fight a war. We want peace. We want growth. And that's a message that both Russia and China are giving out.
Okay. So we are looking at a sustainable equation, so to say, that is coming up right now.
Yes, and look at one more incident which Indian papers have reported in full detail. Look at what happened last week in Venezuela.
Yeah.
America sanctioned Venezuela,
Yes.
asked all its oil companies to come out,
Yeah.
and Venezuela said, no, this is our land, our oil, and entered into a pact with China.
True.
Venezuela was also pact with ONGC, with India, but it was a little scared, was a little scared. When the sanctions came in, Venezuela tried to manage, and then America decided to send 2 battleships and 5,000 troops to contain Venezuela.
Yeah.
When that happened, China lashed out and sent a letter to the US president. Russia went and raised this issue in the UN Security Council, and so did Iran. And the 3 protested. America withdrew its troops, withdrew everything.
Yeah.
For the first time in America's backyard, China has said that we will not use force against trading partners.
Yeah.
That's a message that's gone out. Will the message go elsewhere? I don't know. But China has already asserted, and there was a news item in all the papers, that China has decided that it will start working on a role of being the policeman in the world to prevent unfair practices.
Absolutely.
So China is playing a large role. China is 5 times bigger than India in terms of GDP. In terms of exports, it is several times bigger.
True.
Russia is very powerful militarily. And we are very powerful in terms of numbers, in terms of innovativeness, in terms of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
We need capital.
Yeah.
Every which way, these people come. The West has not invested in India. It has used one excuse after another for not investing in India.
Right.
China invest.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for giving us this perspective, sir. We'll keep tracking. Tomorrow, Modi is meeting Putin. We'll again come back to you to get a perspective, a detailed one on that once again. Thank you very much.
Putin is a marriage maker. He's a marriage maker who's brought 2 warring sides together.
Absolutely.
And that is why Putin's role is crucial. And remember, Putin's coming to India by the end of this year.
Yeah, end of this year he's coming.
Very interesting.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.